Love after 60 isn't as simple as it once was. Men know how to hide their egos and manipulate the situation, making you feel like you're the one at fault. They'll break your heart, but protect their own image, making it seem like it's your mistake. If you're not careful, you'll fall right into their trap. Hi, it's Vernon again. Today, we'll talk about what happens when a man breaks your heart and how breaking his ego can be the key to taking back control. Stay with me until the end, and I'll show you how to shift the power back to where it belongs, within you. Before we dive in, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is a space where wisdom and real-life lessons come together, so don't miss out on any future videos. Now, let's take a closer look at how to recognize when his ego is at play and why understanding this can completely change the way you handle heartbreak.
How a man's ego shapes his actions, and how you can overcome it. When a man breaks your heart, the first thing you feel is the pain in your chest. But if you look deeper, you'll realize there's something else at play. His ego. A man's ego isn't just a part of his identity. It's a fragile construct that he constantly protects. When he feels hurt, it's not just the failure of the relationship that hits him, it's the blow to his self-worth. This is why men sometimes do everything in their power to hide this weakness, even if it means turning the blame onto you. What you need to understand is that when a man can't face the emotional pain of the relationship falling apart, he clings to his ego. His ego may cause him to attack, criticize, or accuse you of things you never did. But the truth is, these actions are merely ways to shield himself from the vulnerability of failure. If you're not careful, you'll find yourself trapped in a cycle where you constantly apologize, even when you did nothing wrong. So how do you avoid falling into this trap? The answer lies in understanding the nature of ego and how it shapes a man's behavior. In reality, when you recognize how fragile his ego is, you can respond more intelligently. You don't always have to confront him or beat him in his own game. Sometimes it's about holding your ground, not letting him pull you into his emotional manipulation. Western philosophy can shed some light on this. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "Man is something that must be overcome." In essence, Nietzsche is pointing out that people, especially men, are constantly striving to assert their power, often through their ego. His ego, particularly when a relationship crumbles, is where he seeks validation. But you can see this for what it really is, a trap. Instead of falling for it, you need to understand it and create distance, not be dragged into the psychological games. Once you realize that his ego is just a thin shell, you'll stop being affected by it. That's when you regain control and start navigating the relationship with strength and clarity. And that's also when you can begin stepping out of the shadows of hurt and moving toward a healthier, more balanced connection. Now that you understand how a man's ego shapes his behavior, the next step is learning how to respond in a way that doesn't just protect you, but also shifts the power dynamics. It's not enough to just recognize his ego. What truly matters is how you use that understanding to navigate the situation. So let's explore how you can overcome this challenge, take control, and stop being dragged into his emotional traps. Because when you break free from his ego, you take back more than just your peace of mind. You reclaim your strength.
Regaining your power by mastering the art of not reacting to emotional manipulation. One of the easiest ways a man can control the situation after a breakup is through emotional manipulation. After he breaks your heart, he might try to make you feel guilty, question your worth, or even make you believe that you are the one responsible for the relationship falling apart. This is when you need to realize that this manipulation isn't about love. It's about his ego trying to protect itself. When he starts criticizing, blaming, or using negative emotions to pull you into arguments, it's crucial that you stop reacting. Every time you react to these emotional games, you're unintentionally feeding his ego. His ego thrives on validation, and if you respond by apologizing or defending yourself, you're giving him the power to control your emotions. This doesn't mean you have to stay silent or become cold. In fact, you can still express your feelings and be clear about your emotions, but you should not allow his emotional manipulation to dictate your reactions. When you don't react, he will realize that his actions have no effect on you, which weakens his ego. This is the first step in regaining control. How to stop reacting is by understanding that you are not the only one with emotions in this relationship. He might bring up hurt and pressure, but you have the power to choose how you respond. Every time he tries to make you feel guilty, remember it's just a tactic of his ego to shield itself from vulnerability. Instead of falling into that trap, stand firm in what you know is true, and don't let him change how you feel or think. Emotional manipulation can make you feel weak and confused, but maintaining calmness and clarity will be your greatest strength. You don't need to apologize for your decisions in this relationship. When you learn to stop reacting, you're not only protecting yourself, but also taking back control over your own emotions. Now, the next step is to understand how to use this newfound control to reclaim your emotional independence and move forward with strength. Let's explore how you can empower yourself by shifting the power dynamic in your favor. Empowering yourself. Shifting the power dynamic in your favor. After learning to break free from emotional manipulation, it's time to turn the tables and reclaim the power in your hands. This isn't just about controlling your emotions. It's about taking back control of the relationship, whether you're still in it or not. Understanding the dynamics of manipulation is a great start, but now it's time to transform that knowledge into personal strength. Emotional independence is one of your most powerful assets. This isn't about shutting down your feelings, but ensuring that your sense of peace is no longer dependent on anyone else's actions. When you stop seeking validation from him, you begin to rediscover your true self. This inner stability will allow you to make decisions from a place of strength, not fear or manipulation. Setting clear, firm boundaries is key. Boundaries are an expression of your self-respect and recognition of your own worth. By establishing these boundaries, you communicate that your emotional well-being is non-negotiable. You have the right to distance yourself or walk away if necessary. And doing so doesn't need to be a confrontation. It's simply about asserting your worth and ensuring respect. Self-awareness is another crucial tool in your journey. Reflecting on your emotions and understanding your triggers helps you avoid falling into old patterns. It keeps you grounded when manipulation tries to creep back in, allowing you to make conscious, empowered decisions. Ultimately, it's vital to reaffirm your self-worth. Your value isn't defined by his approval or ego. It's inherent, and the more you recognize this, the less power his manipulation has over you. By reconnecting with your true worth, you'll find it much easier to move forward with clarity and confidence. As Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you embrace this philosophy, you begin to realize that you have full control over how you respond to any situation. This is the moment when you shift the power dynamic, reclaim your strength, and take back the reins of your life. If you found this helpful, be sure to like and share this video. Empowering yourself is the first step toward reclaiming your peace. As you continue to build this inner power, you'll soon discover how to create healthier and more balanced relationships moving forward.
Creating healthier relationships, reclaiming balance and mutual respect. When you have finally reclaimed control over your emotional world, the journey doesn't end there. It's only the beginning. The next step is not merely protecting yourself from manipulation. It's about cultivating relationships rooted in respect, understanding, and emotional clarity. In the quiet strength of this awareness, you begin to build connections that are not defined by power struggles, but by partnership and mutual growth. At the heart of every meaningful connection lies mutual respect. When you own your emotions and take responsibility for your own well-being, something profound happens. You are able to extend that same respect to others. Respect in a relationship isn't a mere exchange of pleasantries or accommodating one another's needs. It's the recognition of each person as a sovereign being, equal, independent, yet interdependent. When respect is mutual, a relationship transforms. It ceases to be about who is right or who holds the power. Instead, it becomes about sharing the journey, learning from one another, and growing together. But respect cannot stand alone. It must be accompanied by emotional balance. Relationships built on emotional manipulation are unstable by nature, like a ship tossed by waves without an anchor. One partner is often caught in the perpetual cycle of trying to fix or manage the other. True emotional balance, however, is a delicate dance where both partners contribute stability to the relationship. It's not about avoiding conflict, but about being able to navigate it with clarity and maturity. When you maintain your emotional independence, you do not lose yourself in the process of loving or relating to another. Instead, you bring your whole self, your true self, into the relationship. And in doing so, you create a foundation of trust and security that allows for growth. Equally important is open, honest communication, the lifeblood of any healthy relationship. When you have established clarity within yourself, you create space for the other person to do the same.
Communication, in its purest form, is not about defending your position or seeking to control the narrative. It is about expressing your feelings, needs, and desires from a place of vulnerability and emotional awareness. When two people can share openly, without fear of judgment or manipulation, they create a sanctuary of understanding. It's in this space that true intimacy is born, not from agreeing on everything, but from the freedom to be seen and heard for who you truly are. And of course, self-growth remains the cornerstone of healthy relationships. The more you grow, the more you have to offer. True connection cannot be found in dependency or in seeking validation from others. It begins within. When you understand who you are, when you are at peace with your own needs and desires, only then can you attract relationships that nurture your emotional well-being and allow you to flourish. In this journey, you stop seeking fulfillment from another and begin to realize that the deepest connection begins with yourself. Ultimately, the healthiest relationships are not bound by the weight of dependency or manipulation, but by a shared commitment to mutual respect, emotional independence, and growth. When these principles guide your path, you create relationships that don't just sustain you, they help you thrive. They allow you to be your most authentic self, while connecting deeply with others, creating a bond that is both empowering and enriching. It is in cultivating these relationships where you are free to evolve as individuals, yet still grow together, that you find the true power of connection. Now, let's explore how you can continue to nurture these relationships, ensuring that they remain balanced and fulfilling as you grow together.
Nurturing lasting connections. Cultivating relationships that evolve with you. In the journey of building healthier relationships, the next essential step is not merely maintaining the connection, but nurturing it in a way that allows both partners to grow, individually and together. Much like a garden that requires constant care and attention, a relationship thrives when it is nurtured with respect, patience, and the willingness to evolve. Think of your relationship as a tree. At the beginning, it's small, fragile, and requires a lot of care. But as it grows, it becomes stronger, with deep roots that anchor it in the soil of trust, communication, and shared experiences. However, just as a tree needs sunlight, water, and nourishment, a relationship needs ongoing effort. If you neglect it, it may wither, much like a plant deprived of the care it needs. In this metaphor, mutual effort becomes the sunlight and water that sustains the connection. One of the most vital parts of nurturing a relationship is the willingness to allow for growth. Just as a tree reaches toward the sky, constantly seeking to expand and evolve, so too must a relationship. This evolution is not always smooth. Like the seasons that change, relationships go through periods of growth, stagnation, and even dormancy. But in every phase, there is something to learn, something to be embraced. Relationships, like people, must be allowed the space to evolve. Growth in a relationship isn't about perfection. It's about learning to adapt and change together. So, if you plant a seed and expect it to bloom immediately, you will be disappointed. But if you nurture it, allowing it the time to grow,
the patience to stretch its roots, and the space to reach toward the sun, you will eventually see it flourish into something beautiful. This is how relationships should be, steadily and gradually growing, not rushed or forced. Patience is the soil that provides stability, while communication is the sunlight that helps the relationship thrive. When you and your partner are open and honest about your desires, struggles, and goals, you allow that space for both to grow, both to evolve into better versions of yourselves together. Vulnerability is also a critical part of this growth. Just as a tree's branches stretch and bend, vulnerable to the forces of nature, so must your connection allow for openness and honesty. Without vulnerability, a relationship cannot deepen. Vulnerability is what allows the roots of trust to grow deeper, providing the foundation for all other aspects of the relationship. It's the openness to show your true self, the raw, unpolished parts, that cultivates the deepest connection. This shared vulnerability creates a bond that cannot be easily broken because it's grounded in truth and understanding. Through this process, emotional resilience plays a crucial role. Just as trees endure storms, bending and swaying but never breaking, relationships too face challenges that test their strength. The ability to withstand these storms is what defines the resilience of a connection. When you can weather disagreements, disappointments, and difficult times without allowing the storm to tear you apart, you build a deeper, more enduring bond. Resilience comes not from avoiding challenges, but from facing them together, learning and growing stronger through them. Ultimately, the richness of a relationship comes from its ability to adapt and evolve over time. A relationship that doesn't allow space for growth becomes stagnant, like water that collects in a pond, growing stale and lifeless. But a relationship that evolves, nurtures, and challenges both partners will continue to flow, like a river that carves its path through time, constantly shaping and reshaping the landscape. In nurturing relationships, the goal is not to find perfection, but to create a space where both individuals can grow, learn, and evolve together. This dynamic relationship, like a tree growing tall and strong, becomes a symbol of love that is rooted in trust, flourishes through patience, and stands resilient through the storms of life. It's a living, breathing entity that, when nurtured, provides both partners with the strength to stand together in the face of whatever life brings.
As we've explored today, understanding the dynamics of ego, emotional manipulation, and personal empowerment is just the beginning of creating healthier, more balanced relationships. By reclaiming control over your emotional world, you are not only protecting yourself from manipulation, but also opening the door to deeper, more meaningful connections based on mutual respect, emotional independence, and growth. Healthy relationships aren't about perfection or avoiding challenges. They're about understanding, vulnerability, patience, and constant evolution. As you continue to grow, so will your ability to nurture and maintain relationships that allow both you and your partner to thrive. True connection begins with a deep understanding of yourself, and from there, it extends to those around you, creating bonds that are resilient, empowering, and enriching. Remember, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. When you invest in your own growth, you naturally attract the kind of relationships that honor and uplift you. If this video resonated with you, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Let's continue this journey of growth together and build the kind of connections that help us all thrive. And always remember, true strength lies in embracing who you are and using that understanding to create the relationships you deserve. I'm Vernon. Thanks for watching my video.